This is your host, Folk, and welcome back to another episode of the Channel 256 News brought to you by Bitcoin Mining World. The date is October 17th. Bitcoin down to $106,548. Crazy markets this week. Looking at the weekly price chart, we can go back to the monthly to see that first of it. We have actually dipped below the giant $19 billion liquidation. What does that mean? Well, we'll dive into that in here in just a couple minutes. Looking over at the Bitcoin net hash rate, nothing's really changing over there. Looking at the weekly chart, down a little bit, I guess, peaking up today at close to 1.4 zettahash, down now to 1.1 zettahash. Nothing too crazy over there. Temps are cooling, however, miners are still curtailing, unplugging as time goes on. Looking over at the price per petahash, things are actually looking pretty nice. Back above $46 at $46.24, making a little bit of a recovery. That's what we like to see. Looking in traditional finance, you would have never guessed. The daily chart, everything's up about 0.5%. Right now, we're going to be looking at the weekly since the charts did just close out today at 3 p.m. Central. Dow Jones up 1% this week. The NASDAQ up 0.5% this week. S&P up 0.63%, and the Russell up 1.20%. However, if we are looking on those dailies, the Russell is the only one that managed to close today in the red. Honestly, not the best sign, not what we wanted to see today. Seeing it get stuck at the $2,500 level is a bit concerning, or the 2,550-ish is pretty concerning. That is the top of its 4.236 extension. If you're looking at the Fibonacci charts, if we want to see the markets continue, ideally we would see the Russell break out a little bit further. We'll be watching crypto over the weekend. One thing that's honestly has me a little bit on edge is just the price of gold and silver over the past few days and weeks. Just today, gold rose today, literally since the 16th. Gold rose, what was it, 3x the total market cap of Bitcoin. It's insane. If you're thinking about how early you are, if we're talking long term, obviously nothing has changed, guys. We're talking about this market cycle when we're talking about a downturn in the market. It is kind of crazy. I think this might be an everything bubble. You guys know I'm not a fan of a this time is different scenario, but I do expect markets everywhere to be crashing besides precious metals. And if we continue to see this thing rally, I honestly don't know what to expect. Seeing a little bit of a dip like this today is nice. Maybe we did just hit a high the other day. I'm sure if you guys are on crypto Twitter, you've been seeing lines of people wrapped around buildings trying to purchase gold all over the place. It's crazy, the hype for it right now. So maybe it has finally topped off and we'll start seeing a little bit of rotation. Over here from Bitcoin Magazine, we've got Charles Schwab sees 90% spike in crypto interest, plans spot Bitcoin trading in 2026. I wanted to highlight this article and the next article from Bitcoin Magazine just to kind of show general interest when we're coming from like an institutional standpoint, retail standpoint. Nothing has changed. Too many people are playing with leverage. And when we're dealing with liquidations to the tune of like $2 to $5 billion, you're seeing like it's going to take time before you start seeing the markets recover, if we do see the markets recover from these points. So seeing these downturns, nothing has changed with the fundamentals. It's not like this big buff in the code has been found in Bitcoin and that's why the price is dropping. If you do have a long-term mindset and you're a spot holder and you're not a trader, which once again, do not recommend trading, not financial advice. However, 98% of you are going to lose some money. I just don't see the point in it when you could just be buying spot. If you don't know who Charles Schwab is, Charles Schwab has over 11.2 trillion in client assets under management. They are a huge wealth management firm. And they're seeing a 90% spike in crypto interest. The crypto asset class in general is not done, and I don't think this bull run is over. I do think we'll be cooling down over the next couple months, more than likely. And if we do see a continuation, it will probably be within the first to early second quarter of next year. Looking over here from Bitcoin Magazine, we've got Arthur Hayes preparing $250 million private equity fund for crypto firms. It's just more and more institutional. adoption. Arthur Haynes, co-founder of BitMEX, if you aren't aware, is a prominent figure in the Bitcoin world and reportedly preparing for a high-profile return into the sector. His family is seeking to raise at least $250 million for its debut private equity fund. The more and more huge players are hopping into the game. If you guys are thinking this is over for the long term, I, I honestly just don't know what you've got going on your head. Over here from the Miner Mag, we've got TeraWulf Price's record $3.2 billion bond deal at 7.75%, betting big on AI pivot. More and more miners are swapping over. We're seeing this every week. We're highlighting more and more stories of this publicly traded miner, this publicly traded miner, this publicly traded miner, all swapping over to HPC. The reason is because it's hard to find power. And while Bitcoin miners are willing to pay $7, $7.50, on a rare instance, 8 cents per kilowatt hour to host their miners, for when you're talking about HPC and renting out H200 servers, you can charge ridiculous rates, like in the low to mid 30 cents per kilowatt hour. And all you have to do is upgrade your infrastructure to be able to handle the redundancies for this HPC. However, obviously we're pro Bitcoin, but to keep these large mine operators in operation, they need to pivot so that they can have a more stable form of income. And if they're devoting a few megawatts over to HPC, it's only good. It's only a net positive for the Bitcoin ecosystem. It just allows these large players to keep their miners plugged in and use them as batteries, as backup power in case their HPC is failing. And I know that's how a lot of players are looking to set up their operations, where they've got 5 megawatts of HPC and 5 megawatts of Bitcoin mining. But that HPC has to have 100% uptime. So what happens if the HPC's data ends up going down, or their load ends up going down somewhere on the substation? Then you have a direct swap, an immediate swap that you can do from your Bitcoin mine with the 5 megawatts over there, and immediately reroute that over by the time before any backup batteries or anything are failing over on the HPC side. These are things that must be in place for these HPC data centers. So seeing more and more miners move is honestly just a net positive for the whole industry. I know this is a little bit of a shorter one. We've swapped over. Instead of doing Monday through Friday videos, we're now doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So that's 3 videos a week for you guys. And we will hop in occasionally on the weekends when something crazy happens. However, we're going into this one off here. Let's hit it with a quick refresh like we always do. See how much Bitcoin has moved. We're at 106.5 right here. Hit a quick refresh. 106.7. Moving up. We're trending upwards into the weekend. Nice to see. We'll have futures markets closing in about 25 minutes from now. We'll see where things land over there for mutual funds. But I think the crypto market has nothing but bright days if we're looking far enough ahead. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Channel 256 News. If you did enjoy, please leave a like. It does help out quite a bit. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that noti bell so you'll always be notified when we're uploading new content and when we're going live. Thank you all again so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.